Okay, so this video is going to be for fellow divine feminines and empresses who are either just beginning your journey or you've been on a little while and you wouldn't mind a little confirmation, affirmation. I'm going to take it from the perspective of being brand new on it, your first steps. And typically, first steps have occurred. Sorry, my camera's a little bit blurry. As first, get things into focus, right? And and the way to do that, I'm totally gonna leave this just because this is part of the imperfections of life. So your first step, let's assume that either you've just ended a big relationship or you've had some sort of I call them tower moments and phoenix moments. A tower moment, the tower card in the tarot deck is often also associated as the storm card. Think of it like a tornado, like Wizard of Oz. Something came in, picked up your house, which is your mind and heart, and like spun it around in a million crazy circles, and then it landed in a whole nother dimension with like singing Munchkins and the Wicked Witch of the West and the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man, and it's crazy. You might even question if you are crazy because you're going to such the shakeup is probably going to send you into a phoenix moment, which is it's a term that I coined while helping another friend make it through one of these moments before I even had a name for it. But it's kind of like all of your emotions, your ego, your trauma, all these things like coming to a head and feeling like you're just, if you don't do something, you're going to burst into flames. And the actual trick is to let that happen. And to remember that you are not a matchstick that's going to burn up and not exist anymore. You are a phoenix. You will be reborn from those ashes. And whether that is crying, falling apart in front of people, in front of your kids, your friends, your partners, former partners, anyone you're separated from, letting the crazy out a little bit. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. In fact, the more you fight it, the more it's going to happen anyway. So let it happen. And then the next two things are stop helping. And this is a big one for fellow empresses and divine feminines who are coming out of codependent cycles or who have grown up with codependent mother or father figures and who have typically attached, like we get into this place of feeling like we see a loved one in trouble. And this is part of the journey. Your loved one, and it's funny whether you know them already, or whether like let's say there's a few different scenarios. You've been in a relationship with them, and you have tower moment, and they are separate from you, and they get into some trouble. And divine masculine journey probably typically does that because your healing journey wouldn't quite work out the right way if they didn't. So be grateful for it. As you'll learn that later if you're not there yet. But they're going to be in trouble. That's going to trigger you, and it's going to be the kind of trouble where you literally cannot help them. Not only will it push them away, but it will slow down your journey, and it could create all sorts of trouble that will actually create a lot of delays. The next one is you may have just met your divine masculine, and they're they're in a troubling circumstance when you meet them. The third one is you have not met them yet, but you still feel this odd sense of urgency to help someone. And maybe that feeling in you, because until we become more conscious of it, we don't realize that a lot that we are able and capable of receiving connection from others. You know, like the empathic ability. Like, go and watch my series about Path of the Empath, where you learn to separate the difference between, like, what are my thoughts and feelings, what are another person's thoughts and feelings, what is spirit or guides or source communicating with me, things like that. And if you haven't met, whether you've whether you've been with them a while and are in tower moment, or you've just met them and they're going through their tower moments, or you have not met them yet, part of that sense of urgency, it's several things. It's your codependency, and you are the only one responsible for healing that. It's not your fault that you developed it, but you are the one responsible to heal it, and nobody can heal it for you. The irony is actually your masculine is helping you do that anyway, so rest at ease that even though there's some difficult things coming up on the journey, you actually are getting assistance. But what you're sensing is not just your codependent need. It's in within that tower moment, whether you've already known them or you are separate, you get blown open. That's kind of what the tower moment does, especially for the feminine in terms of intuition. You get blown wide open. You might notice that you have more of a sixth sense, or you might decide to go right into psychic arts, or you might notice like a whole ton of synchronicities and things happening, and you are conscious enough at this point to know there's a significance in that and to start looking into it. But usually the first thing that you go through is this: I need to help. If you don't already know your divine masculine, you might take that out and trying to overhelp your parents, or trying to overwork on your body or your job or things like that. Or you might try to overwork things with your kids. Regardless, you got to slow down. You got to be willing to recognize that within you that needs to be healed. Now, and more specifically to those who have already known their divine masculines or who have just met them, the first thing is to stop helping. Stop trying to prepare for things. Stop trying to cushion their fall. Stop trying to effectively not focus on you by focusing on them. I know that's easier said than done in the beginning of the journey, especially because you're probably also feeling a whole, like, you're feeling your emotions. And that's what I was saying, what I was going to say earlier. You're also feeling their pull. Even if in, we'll call it the 3D, even if in this realm they're giving you a stoic, like, I can do it myself, and or even if they're being a dick to you, things like that, they're I'm not gonna, it's not quite their inner being. Like, it is their inner being and it isn't. It's, there's a part of them that is calling out to you for help. Calling out to you to be their rescuer. Like, knowing, at least subconsciously, that they have just jumped into their own personal hell. And so you're feeling that call from them, and you're also feeling your own sense of urgency. And you probably you probably know that, but depending on how ingrained society's normalcies are in you, you might fight that. You might say, oh no, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Like, why can't, you know, why am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about going in and doing that crazy stuff? Like, they being a dick to me, or I got other things to do, or why can't I focus on what I love? Why do I feel like I have to go to this place and go to that place? Why can't I sleep? Or maybe you're focusing on, oh my gosh, they've left me and I've been abandoned, and or if they're not there yet, like, I just feel so alone and unlovable, and when will my time ever come, sort of thing. And just recognize that there are a lot of things going on within you, around you, in the stars, in the universe. Like, this particular time specifically, all the stuff that we have going on, like quarantines and stuff like that, are there's more people waking up now at one big time than ever. And this is part of the divine partnership journey is to help hasten that and prepare us and level us up. We went through a big reset, and now it's time to level up. And if you're watching this video, you are likely either at a precipice where you can choose to go back into old habits that you've been playing out, or you can decide to move forward in a whole new way, like start doing the things. You can hear my cat out there. Or you can decide to start doing the things that you told yourself that you would do if your partner was behaving themselves, or if you had a partner and they behaved themselves. The things that you wouldn't give yourself permission to do because you didn't have an external validator to say, yes, it's all right. You're acceptable as you are, and you're totally worthy, and I love you, and I'm never going to abandon you. Go out into the world and be great. Like, you got to start working on that stuff. And so, and I'll do another video about whether or not to know if the person that either you think is your divine masculine, if you've already met them, is them, or whether they're somebody you have not met yet is on their way. And if this is coinciding with that. But first, you gotta get out of the mindset of even, I'm going to say, needing that. My videos, the intention on both the Divine Femme and Divine Masculine, the Empress Emperor, is to get everybody to the point of recognizing that the most healthy, loving, interdependent relationships where you can give and receive unconditional love and give and receive unconditional appreciation and never have to worry about being abandoned or not receiving reciprocation are the ones where we don't need each other, we want each other. We recognize each other as the cherry on top, not the whole dessert, not the whole ice cream, you know. Or maybe, I don't know, I also like the apple pie thing, like that vanilla ice cream on top of that apple pie with the, or cheesecake with the graham cracker crust, just that Shirley Temple. Because when you barely, when you don't need it and you like it and it's just good to have, then there's no pressure in it. And a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves to be the perfect partner, to do all things right, to make sure our partners are doing all things right, to make sure they know exactly how to care for us, upset us, not upset us, things like that, that we manifest our own karma within our relationships, and we end up putting so much pressure on them that they crumble. And whether or not you found your divine masculine, doing that can ruin even the most divine of relationships. And then it does take a certain amount of unwinding, unfolding to not repair that, to have a new beginning. Which is magical in its own way. Like, the other intention of these videos is to get everybody to a point to where they're grateful for all the contrast, what good, bad, in between. It's all plot twists and interesting chapters of a long story, the story of you, the story of us, the story of them, because it's all, there is no failure. It's all success and learning and adventure and experience, and that's what the human experience is about. But Divine Feminines, the first step in that journey, stop helping. And you don't even necessarily need to help yourself. Just stop. Just allow yourself to have phoenix moments, to make mistakes. Recognize that you are worthy of making mistakes and being forgiven. You are worthy of saying things you want to say just because you're worthy of saying them. You are worthy of believing in crazy, absurd things that just feel absolutely right to your heart, regardless of whether or not the reality reflects it. You are worthy of taking a break, crying, driving around, having the kids be with grandma and grandpa for a little bit, having a little bit of a party moment, or deciding to stay within, date yourself a while. In fact, I highly recommend that. Don't jump into new relationships. Don't seek. Don't, I mean, you can make the choice. There are no wrong choices, but if you're on these videos, my intention is to help you get to where you are just you, because whether feminine or masculine, Empress or Emperor, you can't know who you really are until you are you without external validation and without relationship. Because we're different, we effectively are the God particle that they found. And I love the God particle that they're studying with the big particle reactors, because they have this fun challenge to where they cannot seem to observe, well, they think they cannot observe the God particle without it being changed instantly by anything observing it. They have even recorded it without anybody watching the recording and gone back and watched it, and as they watch it, it changes. Which to me is the answer itself. That is what it is. It is the quantum energy. It is the energy that is used to manifest things, to create things. And we are the God particles. We are changed instantly every interaction that we have with somebody. And that includes especially sexual energy, tantric energy, emotional energy. Anytime that you commingle with somebody else, you you commingle your energy with them. And so not only for your own ability to see who you are outside of relationship, but also just to avoid, like, if you jump into other relationships, whether even just online ones or things like that, you're basically calling another karmic to you. You're saying to the universe, I have not learned these lessons yet, or I am not ready yet to learn self-worth. I need to go through more mommy-daddy issues. And if that's really what you want, or that's where you feel safest and most comfortable, go for it. There literally is no judgment on it. You'll get back to the point you need to be where this video is starting out when the timing is right for you. Until then, or if you're here now, I'm assuming you're watching this, you're here now. Stop helping. Stop helping your masculine. Stop trying to do things for everybody else. Stop. Take a moment. Breathe. Let that pressure just light you on fire and burn you up. And then when you are ashes, you will grow again. You will grow. You'll go through several moments where, like, the old you comes out, it burns up. You will go down to ashes. You will be, you become newer and newer and newer every time these phoenix moments happen. You'll get triggered by your divine masculine, or by somebody that's standing in for them if they're not in your life directly, or if you don't see them regularly, or if they have not come, if you haven't met them yet. And it'll hasten the process, so don't fight it. Don't try to avoid all people or avoid doing things. Think about, you know what, take the time to think about, if you were in relationship, think about the ways that you contributed to the separation or to the breakup. Think about, remove the blame on the other side and just think about your aspect. Don't fall on the sword. Like, it takes two, and you reflect each other, so it's not just you, and you should never make it all just you, but do stop and think about your contributions. What ways did you play as a karmic? And address those. decide with each one of those, is the way that I acted in alignment with who I want to be? Was it loving and kind and reassuring? Did it help things? Did it make more messes? And, do I need to clean up some of those messes? Do I need to clean up some of that karma? And in the process of doing that, don't go the opposite way and start like overwhelming others with your remorse. That's another thing to learn to sit with. Um, and part of the journey of stop helping is to recognize how often you reach out to others, especially any divine partners, for confirmation that you can, for confirmation they have faith in you, for a reason to have faith in yourself, for worthiness, for entertainment, when you're bored, when you are scared, or when you're feeling left out, things like that. And I'm not saying don't do those things, because you might be called to do something like that will create a trigger that you need to have another healing phoenix moment, or you might have a moment that you feel called to say something and it triggers them and they have a phoenix moment. This is kind of part of that path. So, I'm not saying don't do anything, just stop trying to help. Work on yourself, and sit with those moments. Recognize you're a phoenix, and you are an empress, and more than likely you are where you are because you have been an empress who hasn't been working on her self-worth, who hasn't been taking the time to have healthy boundaries and healthy self-care routines, and to feel worthy of having her standards. And as a part of learning to stop helping, put together a toolkit. I'll do a different video on it, but put together a toolkit of friends and activities and goals and things of that nature that you can go to when you're feeling the distress and the discomfort, and it's not quite time for the ignition of the phoenix moment, but it's close. And then as you get that process in, you'll have fewer and fewer phoenix moments, but only if you focus on you and doing stuff for you. Like, it can be in concert with a divine masculine if need be, but if you do it just for them, you're still working out that karma, and you delay the union you desire. I'm going to end that here, and go into another video for divine femmes, and I might do one or two more for divine masculines. If you have any specific questions, go ahead and leave a comment or send a message to my inbox.